Hello, this is Vivica Williams, and thank you for joining us. This is Head to Head on UATV. The Czech Republic has been in the headlines lately. Prime Minister Andrej Babis is facing charges of corruption, a no-confidence vote in parliament, and growing protests in the streets. And his son may be banned from Ukraine for illegal entry to Crimea. And ever present in the background, Russia. Today, we want to take a closer look at the international implications of internal Czech politics. To do just that, we have from Prague, Eugen Kukla, chief editor and reporter at Televize Cerna Kukla. First, for our viewers, thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you for being with me.
Well, Zhenya, first of all, for our viewers, can you give us a quick overview of what has been happening lately in Czech Republic?
Well, frankly, it's bizarre. You know, I love Brother Coen's movies. I like Quentin Tarantino, and I also like very much Monty Python. All of this is happening right in front of our eyes. The reality surpasses fiction. So, well, like the story of our Prime Minister Andrei Babis is something absolutely unbelievable. The story of his son, who happens to be eventually in Crimea, and you just can't believe what's going on. So, and in addition to this, yesterday there were big demonstrations going on in Prague, not only in Prague, to ask for demission, quitting his prime minister's position. Also, Mr. Babis showed up at the place, memorial place, just 1 hour after midnight to avoid crowds waiting for him. Well, it's quite a lot of going on right now in this country.
And what could be maybe ironic? Do you see it as ironic? This is November 17th was the anniversary of the Velvet Revolution, which threw out the one-party rule in the communist government. And here we have this situation with Mr. Babis.
Yeah, well, Mr. Babis is a representative of a very highly successful people, also in the former regime. He was very much involved in foreign trade. He was the nomenclatura guy, and allegedly he was also the collaborator of the Czech secret police, even though he dismisses that. Many documents show the opposite. Also, he became the second richest person in this country, and last but not least, he's undergoing criminal investigation with regard to his farm called the Stork's Nest, which where he's pretty much he seems to be involved in fraud, European funds fraud. So quite a lot of things.
So it seems like under his rule, things have been taking a step back, especially when it comes to just the manner of democracy.
Well, it depends. Those who support Mr. Babis claim, and they are right, that he was the winner of last elections. But at the same time, the fact is that Mr. Babis is a master of populism. He has a very highly capable advisors team. And he's definitely, for a large segment of population, he seems to be highly popular and definitely has some charisma. So there is a demand for a strong guy speaking plainly. Also, this is similar with Mr. President right behind me across the river. So it's something that actually is not it's not unique for the Czech Republic. Large segment of population likes populists.
Well, this has been an issue in Europe and even in, we know with the U.S. and Europe with populism really bringing in a lot of candidates that wouldn't have been seen a few years ago. And Mr. Babis has a very close relationship, as we understand, with Russia.
Well, it's a little bit more complicated. He definitely comes from the environment which was highly tied with the communist secret police, which had major ties with Russian secret services, etc., etc. Also, he created kind of tandem with Mr. Zeman, the president, which is very much under influence of Russian circles. So at the same time, Mr. Babis seems to be one of those who really claim Czech Republic should remain within the European Union and with NATO. So it's a little bit more complicated.
When we bring up, speaking of the president, and we know of his comments not far in the past of the recognition, his recognition, or saying that we should recognize that Crimea is a part of Russia. And we see that there was not this agreement from Parliament and from other leaders.
I think still the mainstream of Czech politics, which is controlled by the government, never ever admitted that Crimea should be a part of Russia. So definitely there are many politicians claiming this, but the official Czech political line is Crimea is a part of Ukraine and it's occupied illegally.
But then we see, on the other hand, with Babis' son, Andrej Babis Jr., being in Crimea recently, which he obviously did not go through legal channels in which to be there.
Mr. Andrej Babis Jr. Used to be a healthy commercial pilot, Boeing 737, right? Commercial pilot for I think it was travel service company. At the time when the Storm's Nest funding was in trouble, he probably signed something and disappeared. Now he currently is living in Switzerland, but at the time of the disappearance, there was a story when he was allegedly on the highway. Then he took a rest somewhere near the highway. The police showed up. Allegedly, he told them he's George Clooney. The police got him crazy, insane, delivered him to a psychiatric hospital in Havlíčkův Brod. And later, his father allegedly asked his driver, he was renting bicycles, to take care of his son. Imagine a multi-billionaire asking this guy, and the guy, his name is Protopopov, and he started to take care of Mr. Babis. Eventually, he took him to Moscow, and from Moscow to Crimea. And in Crimea, people showed up. Allegedly, they fall in love with Babis Jr., and later that girl took Andrej Babis to Kryvyi Rog, Ukraine. Then he was left by Mr. Protopopov, and they were probably separated, right? Great place for being killed from schizophrenia.
So
and so on. It's like a Quentin story.
It's just a very strange story. He ends up under the care of a bicycle repairman, taken to Moscow, and from Moscow to Crimea. And you said also he was in Kryvyi Rih for a short amount of time. Back to Crimea, somehow crossing the border in several directions. And is there credence to the saying that the diagnosis that he is schizophrenic and he should not be believed when he said that he was held in Crimea involuntarily?
Two investigative journalists recently made it to Switzerland, and they found Mr. Babis, young Babis, and he claimed that he's not schizophrenic, that he's afraid, that he's in danger, that he's living with his mother, and he asked for help and to be in touch with the Czech police, even though he is a Swiss citizen right at this moment. So but it's crazy.
It's just a very, as you said, it's been a very bizarre story. And so, where do you see what are the outlooks at this point when it comes in general to the Czech internal politics that you're seeing?
Yeah.
What are you seeing maybe in the near future?
Well, probably in the near future, Mr. Babis will remain in power because Czech President Miloš Zeman said that in case of the government falls, he will name Mr. Babis to be prime president again. And he may keep him there for many, many months. So there is also a danger when the government collapses, the hard line, say, semi-fascist party of Tomio Okamura may join in and to replace social democracy, which actually means there would be even more a pro-Russian in the Czech government. So we will have to wait and wonder what's going to happen next. But despite all the demonstrations, I see that the future for, let's say, next year is pretty bleak, unless something new was done, some really breaking news.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today and bringing just this, the sharing with us the bizarreness of Czech politics now. And we'll have you back on if there's anything changes in the next few weeks. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for being with me.
Thank you. And that was Eugen Kukla, Chief Editor and Reporter at Televize Cerna Kukla. Thank you for joining, and stay tuned with UATV for more.